All right, welcome everyone to another impactful episode, number 52. I have my lovely guest today. Anita, how are you doing? Oh,
I'm
yeah.
fantastic. Sorry, I just had some problems getting to the unmute button. I am fantastic and so excited and honoured to be here. Thank you for having me, Amit.
Thank you. And the honor is always mine. I always tell this to all my guests. Now, before I pass the mic to Anita and start, and she can share her story, let me talk to you about the shyness and people who are supposed to be termed as introverts. Facing public is the biggest fear than death. It's very strange, isn't it? But that's the biggest fear in this planet. Most of the people who are shy are scared to talk to someone. To that extent, they do not like to be seen. The confidence level of such person are mostly in minus, below zero. Moreover, they face a lot of challenge while dealing in public or office. Now, these are some of those people also. They get bullied because they fail to speak, they fail to share their ideas, and they feel that they are not growing up and they aren't able to share their creativity. My guest, Anita van Rooyen, and Anita, you can correct me if I pronounced it incorrect, is one such person. Thank you. Over time, she has learned, she created and tried all kinds of tools to boost her self esteem. Now, as a human behavior expert and the chief confidence hacker, Anita helps young people of all ages to build lasting confidence using tools that truly work so that they can make better decisions for themselves about their study, job, happiness, contentment, and even the life itself. Anita loves engaging with groups, making well being a fun and engaging things to do for groups and workplaces. She does all this in many ways, some of which are one to one coaching, fun and PowerPoint presentation free presentations and workout. Now, that's going to be very interesting to know. Products and gifts. She's got a lot of online courses and many things that focus on student well being. With that, it's my great pleasure to bring Anita, the confidence hacker. Anita, it's really, really interesting what you do. But before we know the current confidence hacker, Anita, I want to know the shy Anita. And when was it? When did when was it? Is it like from the childhood, or when did you realize that you're very shy?
Like right from when I was a very young girl, I always stayed to myself. Even, talking to first cousins at family events, things like that was something that I just wouldn't do because it felt like it was way too scary. So just avoided it. And very interestingly, my mum also used to be someone who was quite shy. And so at family events, we could kind of just sit and hang together and, not have to worry about talking to too many other people, because she could kind of protect me, I could kind of protect her. And even though we never spoke about that's what we were doing, that's kind of how it worked out. So fast forward a lot of years till I was probably 35, I think. That's when I really started what I now call my cha-cha of personal development. So cha-cha, for those who don't know, is a dance where it's, a couple of steps forward and one step back. And my cha-cha of personal development was like that. It was, I'd try something and sometimes it would allow me to take a few steps forward, and then I'd try something else and it was maybe 10 steps backwards, and then try something else and it would maybe a step to the side, and try something else and it's maybe a diagonal step. And so tried all kinds of things to shake this. I mean, it wasn't just a belief by that stage. After 35 years, it was really like an identity that I wore like a coat. And, to try and really get rid of that and move it on and decide that coat no longer fits me not only doesn't fit me well, but doesn't fit me at all. Took a lot of work. I'm still a work in progress, but I think we all are, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the human condition, is that we are all works in progress.
True. No, I that's absolutely true. It's always something that we're gonna keep learning from like I say, when you sleep, when you get up, it could be the new you as well. So let me ask you this, 35 years now, you've been through your education, you've been through your high school, graduation. How did you cope up? And what exactly this shyness was all about? Is it just that, was it the scare? Were you scared to talk to people, or is it that just something didn't come out from your mouth?
Well, the fear came first, and that stopped the words coming out. So if I think about even in the classroom from ever since I can remember, the teacher would ask a question and I would have an answer in my head, like I think most of us do, but my hand would never go up. I've never ever got to the point where I felt safe enough to be able to have a go at having an answer, even if I was 99.9999999% confident that I had the right answer. There was something within me that would just kind of hold me back. And, now looking back at that time of, being a younger person and understanding more about human behavior and why we do things, and even the stuff that seems really random is totally not random, but helping to understand that, I realized that, one of my key fears was that I wasn't good enough. And if you're not good enough, then, it can go in one of a couple of different ways. Some people whose belief is that they're not good enough will try and overcompensate and get to, I have to be perfect. And mine fell in the way of, if I don't think that I can be absolutely perfect at whatever it is, I'm not even going to try. And the fear of trying and failing, trying and getting the answer wrong, was so frightening that it felt safer to not even put myself out there. And that was not just for putting hands up in class. That was for asking people to be friends, having birthday parties, you name it. And it was just this invisible wall, really. It wasn't even a fence. It was like this invisible wall that was like, you can't do it. It won't work. You won't get it right. They'll laugh at you. All of these kind of things going on inside of my head at the same time. So, yeah, knocking down that enormous wall, changing that coat. It's a process,
True. No, you said very well. One very good point. When you mentioned that, it's not just you had the belief of, and you please correct me if I didn't get it correct. Like, you had the belief that if you raise your hand or whatever it could be, it is about the fear that of rejection and getting things wrong. Right now, that happened. Forget the class, like you said, it happened everywhere. How did you manage? Did you have friends, and how did you manage?
I did, but like when I look back at the friends that I had even back then, a lot of the people that I made as into friendships were people that were perhaps other, outsiders, other people that were a bit left of center or didn't quite belong, didn't quite fit. And so we could sort of be the ones that didn't fit, but we could just fit together, and we could be okay being these kind of weirdos together. And, we need to belong somewhere. All of us need to. And so I found that having time with people who had some kind of something else going on that meant that they felt like that they were isolated or they weren't part of, the norm community, then we kind of created our own little space.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. It's like those outliers, so you don't fit anywhere. So but But you know, the thing that I'm trying to understand is that not many outliers, or people like, because with this generation, or with the newer folks, newer children that we have now, right, they don't have this. Let me take a step back. Did you ever felt that you are like lone and depressed and sad, and you thought of taking certain extreme actions or something to do fit in or something?
Look, I think, throughout my life, there was definitely times where I felt quite lonely. There was definitely times I was married at one point, married somebody who also was not a good fit for me. And, humans are weird. We do weird things. Everything makes sense. But at the time, it all sort of seems weird. And so in that space of loneliness, in that space of having those feelings of not good enough, magnified and magnified and magnified through circumstances, through whatever happens, can really impact, does really impact your own well-being and where you feel you fit in the world. Is there a place for you? Now, for me, I got to a place when I was married, and it was a place where I was incredibly unhappy, the most unhappy that I've ever been. And, that doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. It was a slow kind of process of, feeling like you're kind of more and more and more squashed as a person, more compressed, and got to the place where, look, I wouldn't say that I was suicidal, but certainly got to the place where my own well-being, I didn't look after. I took risks that I would not normally take. I did some stuff that would not be what I would consider to be, particularly good, safe behavior, because there was this whole part of me that, well, if something happens, then maybe he'll love me. Maybe I'll be okay. Maybe I'll be enough. And, I look back now and I go, really tragic behavior, really kind of quite significant behavior. But that's the space I was in. And I think, it can become a very easy kind of to spiral into that sort of place of sadness, depression, anxiety, all kinds of other things as well.
True. I can only imagine. And I'm sorry if I just went in and scratched off the old wounds or something like that.
No, you know what? Like, I think it's really important, because these kind of conversations, like, this is real. This is real life, and real stuff. I think, when we are in this space of being able to share our stories can help other people. They can also help heal us as well at the same time.
Absolutely. So well said. Very well said. Thank you. Thank you very much. So and the reason I ask is because I know that there are certain people, individual, family, friends, neighbors, whoever it is, because they might take this step and regret it later, or they might take a step which is now the extreme one, and I want to showcase that, there are people like you who have gone through, let's put it like that. There are people who've gone through hell like you, and you come back as well, and back in the much, much, much better version of yourself, and impacting the world now. So
100%.
So now let's move a little forward. So you said that you went through certain relationships. You, of course, and it's just not about that. You've been a shy kid from child, right? So there have always been certain challenges. Now, sorry. So when did you realize that enough is enough? And when was this? I call it as acceptance. When did you accepted the fact that, okay, I am like this, and I need to change? When did that happen?
Yeah, so interesting, because I think I think that throughout my life, and I think throughout the life of people in general, we have these moments that I call an epiphany moment, where it's like there's a bolt of lightning out of the sky that sort of hits you in the head. And with those moments, they are absolutely like fork in the road moments. You can either go this way or that way. You can continue how you're going and wait till the next epiphany moment, or you can take the other path, and it's scary and it's frightening and it's like, oh, unknown and all that kind of stuff. But those moments, I think, come throughout your life. And I think there probably had been some of those in the past. I just wasn't ready for whatever reason, or aware enough, or whatever. But I remember I had this one moment, and it was this absolute epiphany, this bolt of lightning out of the sky. And literally I heard myself saying, you know what, if I don't change, nothing changes. You know, if I stay the way that I am, then I'm going to be missing out on a whole lot of people, because I'll be missing out because I won't have connection with them. And they might be missing out on me. And that was huge, to have this realization that, you know, I'm missing out on others, but other people might be missing out on me because I'm not being in a space where I'm using my own voice, where I'm not adding to conversations, I'm not adding to anything. I'm just kind of sitting there like this, or not even sitting there, not even sitting at the table, sitting away from the table. So that moment of, you know, if it's not now, I don't know when it will be, and it has to be now. If I don't do something now, I'm going to miss out on others, and others are going to miss out on me. And that was like this, like my brain just, it was like my brain exploded. And from that moment, I could not do anything different. Like I had to do, it was like I was absolutely compelled that I had to do something different. And I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know how I would do that. I didn't know when it would happen, but I knew that I had to start like now.
Wow.
Yeah. It was exciting and scary all at the same time, right? Like totally exciting and scary all at the same time.
Absolutely. And I have there's one comment I need to show that first. So Monik says, engaging conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. And so it's very interesting, you know, that definitely you had these moments earlier, and at least now when it hit real hard, probably maybe it was some sort of a divine plan to hit you hard once more.
I think that there is, you know, I said like there's all these moments in your life, and I think it starts off like, you know, a feather tickling the side of your neck, and you can just kind of go, oh yeah, I'll just ignore that. And then it's someone poking at you, and you just go, ignore that. And then it's somebody like just throwing a little stone at you, and you ignore that. And then it's a bigger stone, and then it's half a brick, and then it's a brick. And then all of a sudden it's like something has to happen, like do it now. And I think, you know, we have these opportunities to miss all of these spots all along the way, or we can choose to make a change at the point where there's a tickle on the neck. We don't have to wait until there's, you know, a brick that's getting flown at your head before we kind of have those moments.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you don't need to wait for the hammer to come and break your head.
Please don't, you know, please don't wait.
Absolutely. So you're a human behavior expert, right? So my question now is that did you went deep dived into it after this realization, or were you before the expert as well? I mean, did you do your whatever education or going through it?
No. This was, had the realization, had done some personal development work, which I think led to that, bam, you have to do something, really like commit to stuff or not. So I think I've been doing some personal development stuff, kind of, you know, when you feel you're stuck in this zone of, oh, I'm the shy one. And it wasn't even a sticker on my forehead anymore. It was like somebody had tattooed it on. Like, it was so ingrained in my belief system. And so it was then after that, after trying a whole lot of different things, that I realized, and actually a friend of mine said, I was in between jobs. I just quit a job that I absolutely hated. And I said to a friend, I said, oh, I just feel like I don't know what I want to do with my life. And she said, oh, Anita, she said, everybody comes to you for advice. People are asking your guidance all the time. Why don't you do something with that? She said, you would make the best coach ever. And, again, like, sometimes people tell you stuff and it kind of goes in one ear and then out the other. And sometimes it's like a block of wood and it just goes bam and hits you right between the eyes. Like, this is so obvious. Why did I miss this? And it was one of those. And so it was from that I really started this adventure of understanding human behavior. And so funny, because I remember when I was going through the training and lots of training, all that kind of stuff, everything that I was doing, I was thinking about how I could help other people with all of this stuff. And it was only later on that I realized, yeah, actually, I need to deal with my stuff first. Like, deal with my stuff, some of the big, chunky, heavy boulders, let's deal with some of that stuff first. Because how can I help others if I haven't had that courage and braveness to move forward myself?
True. Well, that's really, really interesting, because I agree with you that, you got to take care of, before we go ahead and share our advice to somebody, we want to make sure that we are at a certain place to take care of the things as well, because you never know, people might come back saying that, hey, you're not there yet, and maybe your advice is not that practical, something like that.
It's kind of like, do you take how to be in a successful marriage from someone that's divorced 5 times? No. You take that advice from somebody that's been in a lasting, happy, fulfilling relationship. And it's that same kind of thing of, why would anybody take guidance from me if I haven't looked after my own stuff first?
True. I understand, and I agree completely. I have a couple of comments here. Let me show that. It's very nice when I
know.
them.
Hello, Swati. Thank you for being here and joining us.
So that's Swati, and she says, confidence hacking. Wow. Namaste from India, Anita.
Namaste.
And she has another comment just heard right now. See, this is so obvious. Why did I miss this? I totally relate with this expression. Lovely. Thank you very much, Swati.
Isn't it great when we have those aha moments of, oh my God, why did I miss this? But I've got it now. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties when you have your guests there live and you listen to them. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice, and you can even query them. Sorry.
Correct.
So now moving on. So confidence hacker. So how did you came up with these 2 words, and what does this mean?
Okay, so hackers. I mean, there's kind of 2 types of hackers, right? So there's the hackers that, break into computers and do bad stuff. This is not the kind of hackers that we're talking about. Hackers are people that find like clever solutions to tricky problems, tricky everyday problems. And, if you're going to hack something, it means that you find the workaround, you find the easy way to get to the result that you want to get to. And as someone who used to be incredibly not confident, I always was looking for, okay, how can I do this? How can I create maybe some shortcuts? How can I get to the end result without having to do heaps and heaps of cha-cha backwards and forwards. I kind of want to get to the end result as quickly as possible, but still without missing all the important stuff. So that's where confidence hackers came from. I also love it that, confidence is something that is a very, it's kind of a safe word, right? Like it's a very easy word for people to be able to admit that they have confidence challenges rather than anxieties, depression, anything like that. And confidence can really cover a very broad range of feelings and broad range of emotions. And I think that there's a whole lot of stuff that we can do in that space of when those feelings, those challenges are small and in a preventative way. How do we stop them getting to be big challenges? How do we stop them from being, take it to the extreme version of, people ending their life, people self-harming, doing all that kind of stuff? How do we create change and impact at this end where life is easier to manage and easier to make change down here than what it is up at this extreme end? So that's where it came from.
I clicked the wrong button there.
That's okay.
That's really interesting, because I agree on the fact that confidence is one of the key things that whatever you want to do. Like I had a lot of confidence when I started my show. Of course, there's a lot of going to be nervousness. There's going to be a lot of adversities that we're going to have. But I think this something pushes you forward, and the first step, like raising the hand as a child, even though if the answer is wrong, is the first step to take care. And like you said, if it's prevented in a better way at a better time, there's a lot of catastrophe that we can take care in a way. So when did you started this, and what exactly it is? So do you have like, is it a organization, is it a community, and what do you do? Share all that, and specifically
what I was going to say, that's a whole lot of questions all at once. I love it. So Confidence Hackers actually started, I was working initially with dancers and performers. That's how I started working. I used to do a lot of Latin dancing, and so was working with dancers and performers, and that was great, but it wasn't really filling my soul, and I wanted something that was really impacting and giving a good feeling to my soul as well, filling up my soul. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to literally turn off the tap. I'm going to stop that work. I'm not going to advertise it, promote it, nothing anymore. And I'm going to sit in nothing, which was very scary. I don't know where it's going to go to next, but I know I want to do something, and I know I want to do something amazing. So eventually I got to this space where I was in meditation, and I asked myself this such a simple question and such a impactful question, which was, why did I start doing this in the first place? What was it that made me want to do coaching in the first place? What was it that got me excited about this space in the first place? And immediately was, I want to help people with life skills. I want people to have the best life that they can have, and not a small life. I think we can all live a life that is as big as we want it to be. And how do we help people do that? And immediately I was like, if we start with young people, that means we don't create the problems later in life. So it was always about this preventative, proactive kind of stuff. So that's where Confidence Hackers has really morphed into. And now I work with a lot of young people, a lot of international students, through a number of different government departments, different organizations, companies, all kinds of different places, helping them to build those skills, build understanding about themselves, which means that when we understand ourselves better, we can make different decisions. We can make change so much more easily and effortlessly than constantly backwards, forwards.
That's really interesting. And because I went to your website and there's so many things. I also saw that, you've got good team now, and it's not just in Melbourne, you're in Australia and other states as well, other cities. And, when you impact, so let's say, for example, you have a college grad, right? And what sort of a training or advice, and tell me about this free workshops. What are they? Because I get very excited when I hear the word presentation free.
PowerPoint
Yeah,
free
sorry,
presentations.
PowerPoint.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
PowerPoint free.
So it's really interesting. When I first started doing workshops, obviously I was doing everything live in front of a live audience in the room, all that kind of thing, rather than via Zoom, still live, but via Zoom. And when I started, I thought, okay, what I want to do is have the PowerPoint behind me with a beautiful image and just a couple of words. And not only will that help the audience, because mostly international students, so English is not generally their first language. I thought that would be helpful. The picture is really related to the thing. And what I discovered was that anytime I had to lose eye contact or anything to do that or do that to change the image, I lost connection with the audience. And even if it was just for that second, I lost connection with them. And so I remember one fateful day, I decided, you know what, I took a PowerPoint with me because it was useful for me also to help remember, like, what was the next thing I wanted to talk about, And I took it, I set it all up, and I decided, hello, Ritika, and decided that I'm not going to use it. I know my content. I'm not going to use it. And I want to serve my audience directly. I don't want to be guided exactly by what it is that I've told myself I'm going to talk about. So for all of my workshops now, I have like 2 or 3 main points that I want to cover. And then, which is so exciting, is that the audience guides where we go next, which means that no 2 workshops are ever the same, which keeps me interested and exciting, because I love discovering new things and not having the same. And it also makes it super relevant to the audience that's there. The people who have come, they get to ask questions which guide where the conversation goes and where the content goes as well. There's always those 2 or 3 things that I absolutely want to cover, but otherwise it's like, oh, sometimes we head over this way, sometimes we go this way, and it keeps it really exciting for me as a presenter, and it keeps it really engaging for the audience, because we're just having a chat. It's not like I'm talking at you. I think a lot of young people, whether they're in primary school, high school, university, a lot of times young people get talked at. And this really brings people into the conversation, which is really, really exciting.
Wow. Now I can imagine, because when you don't have PowerPoint displayed across, I can clearly imagine, because like you said, you'll have your certain topics to share, and then, you can listen to them, they can voice out, and they don't have to just be focused on that particular piece of content that was shared, or because they're going to listen to you and then ask you the questions. And the best part is also that, while this conversation happens, there's a lot of things that you might learn something new rather than the same old questions, right?
Oh my God, I am so fortunate, because I get to learn a huge amount from every audience that I'm in, that I'm a part of. It's a beautiful way of, I'm here, like, I'm there to teach, but I'm also like the perpetual student. I want to, like, lifelong learner, and every time there is a question that somebody puts up, and I will go back to the audience and say, okay, so what do you guys do? And there's always something that a student or somebody in the audience will give that tip, that point that they have tried, that is like, oh my God, that's fantastic. Can I use that? Can I take that as well? And it makes it that the audience also become experts, and that is incredibly empowering, especially I think for young people.
True. And that's a fantastic sign of a leader. I mean, in you, because a leader would actually let rather than just giving his or her input or on comment on everything, when you pass it on to the rest of the folks, you're actually empowering them to take certain steps and answer it at the first place. So yeah, fantastic leadership quality as well.
It's so exciting, because what it's meant is, like, there is a program that I am doing. I've done for the last, I think, nearly 12 months with a group called Study Melbourne here in Melbourne for international students. And the most recent program we had just about finished the last, it was a 16-week program. And it was a student that came along, lovely fellow Param, in India, stuck there at the moment doing his master's, can't come back to Australia to do it. And when he came through this series of workshops at the beginning, I noticed he was there, but his camera was off every time. Then after a while, his camera was on. Then after a while, he'd put a comment into the comments box. Then he would put his hand up to say something. Then in our last session, he actually was one of the student presenters. I got him and 3 other students to be a student presenter. And he shared his story about how through going through this program that he had then also started contributing more in his classes, putting his hand up, there as well, being engaged and involved in the conversation. And like, just my heart was just like jumping out of my skin, because, I could see so much of myself in this young man who, very shy, textbook introvert, who has really, in such a beautiful, loving way, stretched himself into new places that I didn't even think that I don't think that he knew he could get to.
True. Yeah, that's a profound impact, and I'm sure he would love it now, because now he's got a new confidence, and I'm sure that was gonna help him a lot in all the future areas, because it's not about extroverts. People feel that who, like, I don't know what I am basically, but I it's not that I'm flamboyant and I go out and speak. It's just that I want to share my ideas, and I can only do it if I can open my mouth. Right. It's
really interesting, because people get very confused and mixed up with what an introvert and what an extrovert is. So an extrovert doesn't mean that they are the person that is out there and the loudest. An extrovert is somebody who gets energy from other people, from being in a group of people, from being in a crowd. My sister, classic example. She's like in lockdown, being isolated, separated from people. She's struggling, yeah? Then you get introverts who get their energy from internally. Introvert, internal energy. So when they have to be in a group situation, party or anything like that, they go home and they're exhausted, because it's like they've had to give so much energy outwards in a party. My sister goes to a party, and at the end of the party, she's like, yeah, like full of energy, loving life. And so it has nothing to do with if you are the life of the party, if you're flamboyant, if you're quiet, nothing to do with that at all. It's literally about, where do you get your energy from? Is it from inside, introvert, or outside, external to you, extrovert?
Wow. That's a fantastic definition. I'm going to clip this video. I'm going to put it onto my group. No, because it's really important to understand it, though it might be in the, you hear it in the books, read it and stuff, but you explained it pretty well, and with the example, so a person can really understand it and break this whole myth, because I think there's a big myth about the introverts and extroverts and stuff.
Yeah. And it becomes, again, this label that we give to ourselves. Oh, I'm an introvert, so I can't do this. Oh, I'm an extrovert, so I should be able to do that. And should is probably one of the most yuckiest words ever. Hello, Pardeep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one of the features of StreamYard is that, out of the 3 platforms that we are live on, it just picks up which platform to show this chat for both of us. That's strange. And it says there, can't post comments to some destination. It's very weird.
Well, Pardeep is here on LinkedIn, so thank you for being here, Pardeep.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so we're almost at the tail end, but before I ask my last question, I still have one more question for you.
Go for it.
What's your upcoming, where do you see in next 2-3 years? What do you want to do in the next couple of years or so?
Big question, because I think now is probably some of the most important time that we've ever had in history, as far as looking after well-being and how we can do that in a proactive and preventative way. Because, like, I love research. There is a bucket of research, libraries full of research that says that, in the mental health space, that we need to be putting more money into preventative activities and proactive activities. How can we stop people from getting to a point of crisis? And that has been an old story. Like, the research goes back a very long time saying exactly the same thing. And yet we haven't really seen anything particularly that has been in this space of preventative and proactive mental well-being stuff. And I believe that this is absolutely the future, that we have to be looking in that space. I know a lot more schools are looking in that space. They want to be in this space of helping young people before they get to crisis. And so I think that, what I'd love to see for Confidence Hackers is our reach and impact growing and growing. And not only in the space of where I'm at with a lot of tertiary students, but I mean, for me, I would love human behaviour to be something that is a lifelong journey, that right from kindergarten, preschool, primary school, high school, all the way through your work, all the way through to retirement villages and aged care facilities, that we take this as a entire length of life process about understanding ourselves, because the way we look at things when we're young changes as we get older. And so I think that there's lessons to be learned all the way through.
Absolutely true. I agree with you. I mean, it's just not for any specific generation or any specific area. It is for lifelong. There's one comment, and from a very special lady, Madhu Vyas. Just to let you know that she's in her 60s now, and a young lady, and she is actually a breathing warrior. So she actually has an oxygen tube 24/7, and she's also has a whole what do you call? She also takes care of. She actually goes and trains people who suffer with breathing and how to actually adopt their lives to ensure that they can stand on their own. And her movement is called as Breathing Warrior.
Love it. Anybody who's a bit of a warrior in any kind of way, shape, or form, I'm like, yay.
Yeah.
And, breathing is probably like one of the most important things that we do, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I have a deep respect for her. And I thought, let me first tell you about that. And she says that I've lived for more than 6 decades and witnessed the evolution over this period. I too believe it's the best time to be alive. So,
yeah, it's the one time in history where we can really change the way we look at ourselves, look at others, look at the entire world, and see things differently, that we can make change. And that's probably like the first time in history that that's happened. I know it really wasn't available to even, my mum's generation. Mum's 77, I think. And look, it wasn't, this kind of understanding of human behavior, this kind of coaching wasn't available here. And in one generation, it's now open and available. So it's a really amazing time to be alive.
Absolutely. All right, with that, we're almost at the end. I can continue with Anita for a very long time.
Thank you, Emmett. I'm having such a great time.
Yeah, me too. But then we'll at least, this is another opportunity that I can call you back on my show and we can share more, do the part 2 of this. Anita, I asked this is the one common question that I ask all my guests, and it relates to the title of my show, is that, do you think that sharing stories can impact people's life?
1000%. 1000%. I know that when I have been in times where I've been unsure of myself, understanding and hearing stories that other people share can totally inspire me and can inspire others to create impact for themselves. I think, who was it? The 4-minute mile was impossible, absolutely impossible until it was done. And then I think within the next year, there were 6 people that did it. And it's that same thing when we believe that something can happen, and that can happen through story, then we can take that story, turn it into our story as well, and use that to inspire us to create the change that we want to have. So I love the title of the work that you're doing here, Stories That Impact, because they absolutely can and do impact.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And you're absolutely right that, when you said that when you listen to the story and you change, and then you can create your story. So that's really very, very well said. With that, we are at the end of our show. Now, for people who want to connect with Anita, and please do so, all the platforms that we are right now live in, you have the connect. So you can just go to her YouTube channel. You can go to her website, that is anitavanrooyen.com. You can go to Instagram by using Confidence Hackers. Okay. There is a fantastic blog in her website as well that you can read. You can also connect with her, know what she's doing. And I'm pretty sure that, you'll find a lot of tips as well on how to build confidence and help others. And of course, you can ping her, connect with her, and join her movement in helping the entire world, not just Australia, but let's spread it across the globe now. And we'll take the movement and work with her and spread the good things that she's doing. All right,
spread the love is what I reckon. Spread the love. Absolutely.
And there's a couple of more comments I want to show. That Swati says that human behavior learning is a lifelong journey. I'm a firm believer of this. Love the conversation, Amit and Anita. Thank you.
Thanks, Swati.
And she also quickly types in that I would love to connect with Anita. Please do.
Please do. There's every kind of social media, so knock yourself out, pick one.
Yeah, and the last one is from Madhu. So by the way, Madhu, Vyas, and Swati is Madhu's daughter. So they are the mother and daughter taking the Breathe Your Warrior movement.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
And she says, thank you, Amit and Anita. You two are warriors. Fantastic.
Warrior on is what I say. Warrior on.
Absolutely. Before I pass on to Anita to listen to any of her last comments for the show, let me quickly tell that if you love this episode and if you want to be part of the show, or anybody who you think, the people who are going to listening live and who are going to listen to the recording, please ping me and I'll work with you. connect with Anita. And Anita, last thing that you want to share before we end the broadcast?
The last thing I would say is that if confidence has escaped you, find your courage. Courage comes before confidence. So find your courage first. That will lead you to confidence. Thank you, Amit, for having me. It is absolutely a delight and an honor to be here and to be sharing my story as well. So thank you so much for giving me a platform to do that.
Thank you very much. And I'm not going to say much because I want to leave the audience with that wonderful statement that you said. Thank you, Anita. Thank you to all my lovely viewers. God bless you all. Take care.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye-bye.